You are listening to the ADHD Support Talk Radio podcast. This episode of the ADHD Support Talk Radio podcast is sponsored by the free ADHD Focused Change series. This free series takes place online May 1st through May 31st, 2019. You can learn more about this free series and sign up for it now by going to addclasses.com/change. That's addclasses.com/change. This is your co-host, Tara McGillicuddy, and today I am bringing you an interview with Casey Dixon about ADHD and microchanges. This interview originally aired at the ADHD Awareness Expo.
My name is Casey Dixon, and I'm a life coach. I specialize in working with adults who have ADHD, and mostly about their professional work, but also about work and life integration issues. I've been doing that for about 12 years, and I'm really excited this year to have started a group coaching program called Live Well ADHD. That's been super fun and a nice new challenge for me. And we keep it to small little groups, and it's just been fabulous. So the other thing that I do is I run a website called Mindfully ADD, which is a membership website for folks with ADHD who want to practice the mindfulness habit. And so you can find me at Dixon Life Coaching. So that's DIXON lifecoaching.com or mindfullyadd.com.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, definitely check out your stuff, Casey's stuff. She has great stuff for ADHD. So we're going to be talking about using microchanges to keep your attention. And this, I'm excited about this topic because I know those little changes can be helpful. So where would you like to begin, Casey?
Well, I guess just sort of to say, I noticed over the years of working with my clients that they're saying, I have this great strategy. I started using my planner, and then I just sort of stopped.
Mm-hmm.
It worked for me for a little while, and then it doesn't. Or I set a really cool reminder on my phone for that, and now I don't even notice it, and I find myself turning it off.
Mm-hmm.
Or I put a sticky note on my medicine cabinet mirror to remind me to take my pills. And now I just don't even see that anymore. So this is a really common scenario for people with ADHD. And it's really about persistence. So does that solution that you're using, the sticky note, persist? Can it keep helping you?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was working with my clients, we came up with this idea of microchanges. So when things are old or tired, like that old sticky note that you've looked at for 3 weeks, people with ADHD don't really see it anymore. It becomes really boring. It loses its interest. Its sparkle, or whatever you want to call it, is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very difficult to direct your attention to it. When you flip that on its head, when something is brand new, that comes into your environment, then it catches your attention. If I'm sitting here calmly and all of a sudden I bring something into the environment, then you will look there and notice that thing. And this is a natural response. But what's really happening is that our attention is pulled in by the newness.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to do with those important neurochemicals that we need when we have ADHD, like dopamine and norepinephrine. They get released when there's something new going on. And that helps us to pay attention and keep paying attention. So the micro change, like you said, it's a tiny little change that almost like the smallest possible change that you can make to have a task or a solution feel new again so that you can keep paying attention and persist with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, you were talking about the sticky notes. Would you change the color of the sticky note? Would that be a micro change?
You got it. And it's really as simple as that. But it's a little tiny strategy that has a big impact, and it can be used for something as simple as, a sticky note on the mirror to take your medication, to reminding you to do your morning routine when you get to work and you get your day set off on the right direction.
Yeah.
So those kinds of things, if they're not persisting and you stop doing them, can be pretty damning.
Yeah.
So they can be very powerful. So color is one of those things. Change the color of the sticky note.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the other ways that my clients use microchanges, one is to change the location. So if I have a sticky note over here
Mm-hmm.
that says try microchanges or use microchanges, and I stop looking at it, then I can simply move it over here. I can put it on my computer monitor, on my desk, on my chair seat, on my steering wheel. It doesn't matter, but that will make it feel new again.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that helps is to ask that key question: what is the smallest possible change I can make to have this feel new again? So location of the object is one. Location of yourself is another one. So I have a client who sits at her desk all day and has to write these briefs because she's an attorney. And after a while, that gets really old, and she needs to persist with that. So she'll simply take her desk chair and move it around to the other side of her desk, turn the computer monitor, and now everything feels new again. A lot of my clients, and I'm sure you've heard this, Tara, is, go to a coffee shop and work, or the local library or a co-working space instead of always working in the same office chair that you sit in. Mm-hmm. And those things can just simply make things feel new.
Yeah. It's funny. I was just thinking back when I was younger, I always had a challenge cleaning my room when I lived at home with my parents. And I drive my mother crazy because instead of cleaning my room, I'd rearrange it.
Right.
But that helped me clean it. So the location change, of course, that's probably rearranging the room might not be a tiny micro change, but it's still, on that same concept. So it's interesting.
It made it feel new.
Yes.
So therefore you could pay attention to it.
Yep.
And really throw yourself into it. So position is another thing that we can do, not location, but actual body position. So for example, I'm sitting in a chair right now, but if I was really bored with what I was doing, which I'm not, by the way, but if I was, then I could simply stand up and start working in a standing position, or sit back down again.
Interesting.
Or I can go and recline, and then that will give me a sense of newness. You can also change the lighting in the room, which will give a task a new feeling. And of course, there's sound. So if I have a ringtone that, I want to practice mindfulness at 7:20 in the morning, and I set myself a reminder alarm, now I'm not hearing that anymore, simply change the ringtone. So that's the smallest possible change to make so that you can persist with that habit and it feels new again. Really simple. So location, position, lighting, color, sound, the time of day that you're doing something can change. So instead of meditating in the morning, do it in the evening. That makes it feel like a new habit. And then there's one that's a little weird.
Okay. Which is probably going to help a lot of us.
It does, actually. This is because sometimes people who are into efficiency go, like, this is a scary idea. But I really like it. And that is, I call it switching tools. So I have a timer that I use, right? Everybody talks about timers when you're talking about ADHD and how to be productive. So I love the time timer. I'm a big fan. So I will use my time timer and it will be ticking away. But then after a while, I'll stop noticing this here time timer, and I will need to switch my tools to use a different kind of a timer. This is kind of a miracle cube timer. Anyway, having multiple tools that are the same function can be really helpful. And this can go as deeply as the planner, right? My daily planner. So people say, well, I stopped using it. Well, how about you use this one for a little while, and then you switch it up and use this one for a little while. And, it's not the most efficient, but it gives you that dopamine change that you need in order to use the planner at all. So it's the most effective, even if it's not the most efficient.
When do you recommend making these changes? Is it going to differ from person to person, or is there like a set, change it every 2 weeks?
Yeah, and that's a really great question. I think it definitely differs person to person. So some people they will notice things in their environment for a longer period of time. But I would say 2 weeks is probably right. So your guess was a good target. That's a good target. And one of the things I always say is even micro changes get old. So if I have 2 sticky notes for using micro changes and I'm using this one and I'm like, okay, I don't see that anymore. Oh, I'm using this one now. Oh, I don't see that one anymore. Now I need to switch again. So one of the cool things that you can actually do is plan ahead for making micro changes. So I have a client who has his morning routine written out on a piece of paper, and he tacked it above his computer, and then he stopped seeing it after a little while. So now he has a calendar notification for every 2 weeks to print that on a different color paper and move it to a new location. So he doesn't forget to make his micro change. And now he's using his morning routine. Now, eventually, that morning routine will become habitual and he won't have to do that anymore. This is just for things that you're really trying that aren't persisting.
Yeah, because I mean, you could have it the second Tuesday of every month is when you change it, or, there's some people that just want to do it when they feel like it, but some of us really need that structure in there. So I'm thinking this could actually be fun.
Yeah, it is fun. I have a client I worked with who's got a pile of journals. It's the most beautiful pile of journals you've ever seen. And he used to feel horrible about himself because he's like, I can't stick with one of these. What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
And I said, is it actually working? Are you using your journals? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, are they helping you plan your day? And he's like, actually, they really are. And I'm like, you're using a micro change in a big way. So let's just keep rolling with that.
Yeah. And you're giving us permission to make these changes because they work. Even if it doesn't work for somebody else, it will work for you, and it's okay.
Well, and this is part of that acceptance and not shaming thing, right? But if you know that your brain works best when novelty is involved, then make things new.
Yeah.
And it's not because you aren't any good. It's because that planner has lost luster.
Yeah. So, and maybe it's using a new pen for the planner too. I mean, something like that, assuming I can find the pen I like.
Right. Colors, colored markers or colored paper, or changing the font on the screen as you're working on something. Any little bitty change that you can think of to make it feel new again.
Yeah. And the changes you're saying, most of them are very affordable. You're not saying go out and buy a new $500 phone. You're saying, spend 99 cents on a new pen. I don't know if a pen costs 99 cents or notebook, but, or just, and recycle what you have, like change them around. So this is something that, the micro changes, little changes are going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, they can really add up to help you create powerful habits.
Yeah, and make it new again. There's so many things I'm thinking, like I hate doing dishes. Honestly, I buy a new sponge. It's something, or different soap, something different like that. Yeah. The purple soap that looks cool.
I absolutely love that example. And because it can be applied to things at home, little mundane things, or really big, important things. Like I have attorneys who have difficulty logging their billing time. Okay, well, how are you going about that? Is there a way to make a little micro change so that you're doing it in a different location at a different time of day, using a different tool, whatever it is, creates that newness for you.
Oh, this is great. This is going to make a huge difference in people's lives.
Good. It's a little tiny thing.
But... Yes. No, but when I coach people, I talk about tweaking your system, and this is a tweak. It's that tiny micro change like that. Because people will say, "Oh, it doesn't work. Planners don't work for me. Timers don't work for me."
Right.
But they do. It's just making it new and changing the alarm, adding another alarm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It also helps to alleviate that black and white thinking that some people fall prey to, and doesn't really help us to make new habits. Either it works or it doesn't work, or it's a good solution or it's a bad solution. No, how about we just make a little micro change and see if that solution will work.
Standing up, moving around. That's amazing. And it makes sense because your body's moving, but it's also something new. So these are, really great practical examples that it's going to help a lot of people.
Yep. And that's why I made these little notes, because you also have to remind yourself to make a micro change. Yes. That externalization, right? We got to get everything out of our head. If we think it's a good idea, put it down somewhere in your real world. So we can note, hey, can I make a micro change to this to make it feel new again?
Yeah, and if something's not working or you're getting frustrated, instead of beating yourself up, stop and ask that question. How can I make it new again? What's like you said, the tiniest change you can make?
Yep.
So great stuff. Now, we're actually towards the end of the video. Do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to leave people with today? And definitely make sure you give out your website address again.
Yeah, I mean, I think we covered a lot because, like I said, this is a tiny strategy, but it really packs a wallop. When I talk about the ADHD trifecta, which is how to increase your motivation, which I did for ADHD classes and a bunch of other people, this is one of the 12 strategies on that. So it's a small aspect, but I wanted people today to be able to take away something. And I think it's important for them to know, if they're listening or watching, this is something I can just start right now. I don't have to hire a coach. I don't have to go buy something expensive. I don't have to watch another webinar. I can just say, you know what, let me make a little micro change and then plan for making micro changes in the future. So accepting the fact that our brains love novelty.
Yes.
It's a big idea. So that's kind of my takeaway.
Okay, great. And what is your website address again?
DixonLifeCoaching.com. That's DIXON lifecoaching.com. And you can find everything else there. There's a link to Mindfully ADD. There are articles, there are resources, there's the group coaching explanation, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the place to go, DixonLifeCoaching.com.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Casey Dixon. And thank you, everyone, for taking the time to watch this ADHD Awareness